I've seen those. Thank you. It's a movie. Congratulations. Oh, yeah. Space all the time. You know. Okay, so everyone signed in and everything, so in case you wanted to speak, I appreciate that.
Anybody want the door open or we go in and years? Okay.
Whatever makes you comfortable, Chad. So are we going to have the attorney what's up?
Yeah, you're gonna have a new.
Okay, can you tell me a name? J-O.
Yeah.
Last name?
Is it?
It's not,
Would that be-
she's a divorce lawyer.
I know.
No.
I mean, maybe getting a
It'd be
divorce
fun.
today, but you know.
It would be fun, Jeff.
I don't know.
I like her.
I went to school with her. I know exactly.
Really?
Who she is, where she graduated from. I graduated the same year.
Is that Eastern Oregon somewhere?
Linfield.
Oh,
I'm free. If you want control.
Do you have any? Is that the person on the screen?
No.
I would just like to, you know, acknowledge her. G-O-L-L
EHON.
E-H-O-N. And how do you pronounce? I guess I'll ask her. Is she new to force or is she working with the company that
She
she?
works in some.
Okay, no one's gonna official.
She's been doing most of our time, but I don't know if it's.
Okay, okay, okay. Make sure I send the minutes of her meeting with me. It's two scans. And yeah. Cheryl used to sign too. Because I mean. So I told her. I will. I'm gonna be sign. She got it. Oh, I thought that was nice. I'm glad to see you. We were waiting for you.
I should be here. You probably have all kinds of fun. Before I get.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll keep posting. Can we do it? We can do the
We did
whole. I have nothing to say unless it's short and sweet.
No, you are not short and sweet.
More people signed in here.
I'm not engineering.
There it's on.
We'll be selling peanuts at that time.
We need the revenue.
We need revenue. I'm going to the fishing minutes. I'm waiting for Angela to put the sign. Guys.
You're not gonna deal with it.
You do.
What's wrong?
Just between Don and I. It's gonna be.
Share.
Top secret.
Yeah, put it on. Okay. Is everyone signed in? Okay. I'm on three.
This is not on the agenda, there's a part, but
Oh, okay. Okay. It's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, and I call to order the Gearhart Planning Commission on October 9th. The first thing we have on our agenda, Commissioner Mesberg is not able to be here. Do I have a motion to excuse him for the meeting?
Come on.
Russ has moved. Do I have a second?
Sorry,
Is that you, Emerson?
it is.
Okay, Emerson, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Moving ahead, all other members of the commission are here. Angelina is here, Chad is here. Garrett is here. I can see his name. I can't see him. Oh, there's Garrett. And is it Jody? Is she here?
She did email me that she logged in.
Okay. Is that Jody? No. All right. But we have a land use attorney, but I've not met her.
Oh, there she is right there. She
Okay.
just woke up. She's right there.
Right there on the phone. Oh, there she is. Okay. And Jody?
Hi,
Hello? Hi. How do you pronounce your last name?
it is Gallahan.
Oh,
Yeah, I tell everyone sounds like Callahan, but with a G. It's the easiest way to do
Okay.
it.
but, well, welcome. Yes.
Thanks for having me.
May I do a little quick back and forth with Jody, really quick, and just permission, I would like to talk to her for a couple minutes while you guys are going through the top of the
Sure.
agenda over the phone, just because I got it later on something.
Continue on the meeting and you talk to her?
Yes, Jody, can I give you a call
Yeah.
at that number?
Just called it. It went straight to voicemail. If you want to call me back, I just emailed you my voice or my cell phone number, but I can.
Okay, yeah, I just need like 3 minutes with you, if that, so thank you, Madam President, I'm sorry for the inconvenience there. I'll be back, you carry on.
Something new every time. What can I say? So we have the consent agenda. We have the minutes from September 11th, the financial report from September 24th, and correspondence from David Bode, I believe that's correct, on the post office parking, which we've all had a chance to read this in our packet. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
And so move.
Jennifer moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Eric has seconded. Is there any discussion before it's accepted? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Great. Moving on ahead, staff, Angelina, do you have anything to report? No. Garrett, do you have anything to report today, be outside of our agenda? Garrett, are you alive?
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to let you know that we've been keeping track of recent FEMA meetings regarding the National Flood Insurance Program and basically what are going to be the next steps and the follow-up rules that in a few years they're saying we'll have to adopt as a follow-up to the PICM Endangered Species Act ordinance that we're considering later, which again is just the pre-implementation compliance measures. And DLCD's Housing Accountability and Production Office just published their 40-something page summary of housing-related legislation that was adopted
Garrett?
this summer. Yeah.
We can't see you.
How
There
about
we go.
that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Better.
thank you. Sorry, I'm working on a replacement computer, and so it's a new video and audio system for me. And so considering what this summer's housing legislation means for Gearhart, and if there's changes we need to make with our zoning ordinance or just with our practices. So we're looking into that and we'll report back to you on it. And otherwise, we've just been, I would say, extraordinarily busy with customer service, pre-development applications, permit reviews, and you're getting a piece of that tonight with these 3 hearings. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you. Normally at this point, I have a report from Chad and or from Jody. But they're conversing with each other. So I do need to have Chad here though to continue the meeting with the public. I would prefer to wait if that's appropriate, Garrett, until Chad is here. So we're just gonna pause till they finish their conversation and speak of the devil. Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you like to give us a staff report?
Sure. Sorry, switching gears a little bit. So the city council is still working on the public safety building issue, of course. Doing nothing is not an option at this point because it's the building that we have really needs to have work done to make it safe. So the city councilors and I have been working on a new survey with a couple of new options that will be going out here probably in about a week or week and a half. And we would encourage everybody in the community to go through this survey, and the city council is very much interested in listening, trying to figure out what the community wants. We've tried all sorts of different scenarios. We've tried out of the tsunami zone, we've tried up at the park, we've tried up at Murphy's property up there. And we got the price tag for the current local situation with its poor soils. So we have another couple of options. One of the options is going to be a remodel as well of the old building that we're trying to work on and get a pricing for. So keep your eyes open for that survey, some more information to come. And in about, like I said, a week and a half, we'll be ready for it. There's a lot of hubbub going around town about some no trespassing signs in the estuary. And I made some reports at the city council meeting last week about this, and I thought we had it solved, but we don't quite yet. So the city's still working with these no trespassing signs for in the R1 zone, residential zone. Somebody is trying, the homeowner is trying to prevent people from walking through his property and walking along his property because it's creating some issues for him. So we're working with him and the state of Oregon about estuary laws. It's a little difficult because we're going through public trust doctrine and all of this, but we're getting there. The decision hasn't been made that the signs are staying. I'd like to kind of take that back from the last update that I gave. We found some new information and we're going through it. So just we'll let you know when we know more. Other than that, things in the city are going well. The police and fire department are great. We're looking for one new firefighter. We typically employ two. We're down to one because somebody moved on to Andy moved on to run another company. And so we're getting close to receiving enough applications and we'll be going through that here pretty quickly. But otherwise, the fire department's in great shape. We still have our 25 volunteers and we're still flying calls. And it's still as busy as ever out there. I think that's it for now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and real quick also, I would like to know if we could maybe put a pause on the appeal of the vacation rental permit situation, if we can move that down in the agenda.
Okay.
One or two, because Jody's just doing some research. I brought something up to her and she needs to
Okay.
research it a little bit before we get into
All right.
some of the big things.
All right. Oh, we can certainly do that.
Thank you.
We have flexibility here to get her. Does Jody want to say anything at this point? I do not know.
I don't think Jody would have an update for us.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, so commissioners. Anything that any of you would like to bring up at this time? No? Okay, visitors' comments. This is a time where visitors can make comments about anything that is not on the agenda. Something else that is on your mind or you would just like to say? No one signed in. Is anyone out there in? No hands. All right, and we're gonna move on to the public hearing. And before I start the public hearing, since we've got so many people here today, I'll kind of preface this. I open the public hearing, I read a statement. I've read this statement over and over and over again. I still do not have it memorized. It is a disclosure statement. At that time, I will need to ask the commissioners if they have any conflict of interest or ex parte contact or personal bias. And then I ask the audience if there are any challenges to us listening to and making a decision. The staff will then give a report, and then I will take the applicant's report, and then I will, after the applicant is done, the proponents can speak about it, the opponents can speak about it, and then there's a chance for people that just are neutral but want to say something anyway. Then the applicant has a chance to respond, and then I will close the public hearing and go on, and we will discuss it and come to a decision. I will read the disclosure statement first, and then as we go to each of these items on the public hearing, I will ask the questions again. Okay, so I open up the public hearings. We've got 3 of them. And I will read my disclosure statement that I need to read before we get started. All persons testifying shall be deemed parties to the application and must provide their name and full mailing address if they wish to be notified of the decision, continuances, appeals, or other procedural actions required by the code. The city zoning code specifies applicable criteria to be relied upon in making a decision. Those criteria and findings of fact are in the city staff report. Public testimony should be limited to those criteria and findings of fact or to other city or state land use standards that the person testifying believes apply to the proposed land use action. Failure to raise an issue in person or in writing with sufficient detail to afford the hearing body and parties to the hearing an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes appeal to the city council or land use board of appeal or to seek damages in circuit court due to condition of approval. Before the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may ask the planning commission for an opportunity to present additional relevant evidence, arguments, or testimony that is within the scope of the hearing. The hearings body shall grant the request by scheduling a date to finish the hearing, a continuance to a time and date certain, or by leaving the record open for additional evidence, argument, or testimony pursuant to ORS 197.763, 6A through E. The first public hearing we will have is file 25-08 ZTA zoning text amendment of Gerhardt zoning ordinance, Article 1, definitions, and Article 6, supplementary provisions to define pickleball, prohibit pickleball in and within a distance of residential zones and uses, and establish pickleball as a conditional use in other areas. Commissioners, do you need to declare a conflict of interest, an ex parte contact, or personal bias?
No.
Hearing none. Audience, are there any challenges to our ability to make an impartial decision? None? You got what? Yes.
Yes, I'm opposed to it.
No. This is just
I'm sorry, I don't
No.
know well.
This is a chance for you to say, no, I do not think you can listen to it impartially and make a decision.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay, all right. That's okay. No problem. Garrett, it's time for your staff report.
All right, thank you.
We're doing pickleball
So-
first.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So this is a legislative text amendment to the City of Gerhardt zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission's decision tonight, or if the hearing is continued to another day, the Planning Commission's decision is really a recommendation to the City Council. And then the City Council will also have a hearing that will accept new testimony and new evidence from anyone who wants to stay involved in the decision making. And they'll make the city's final decision on whether or not to adopt the ordinance. And then like other similar decisions, it can be appealed to the State of Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals. But again, this is a recommendation that the Planning Commission will be making on whether or not the city should adopt the amendments. In summer of 2025, multiple Gearhart residents approached staff, the Planning Commission, and City Council asking for pickleball to be prohibited in the low density residential zone or all residential zones. And City Council directed staff to work with the Planning Commission to draft amendments to our zoning ordinance to do something like that, to mitigate noise impacts of pickleball on residential areas. And so staff worked with the Planning Commission in August and September of 2025 to draft these amendments. And the amendments are what they would do is define pickleball in Article 1 of the zoning ordinance. And they'd also establish where pickleball is and is not allowed using Gearhart's base residential zones. So essentially, staff have recommended a pickleball definition that follows some standard characteristics of pickleball courts and pickleball play. That can be observed from satellite imagery or the street, for example, adjacent to a pickleball court. And then we've gone on and offered amendments that prohibit pickleball within the city's residential zones and that provide some, albeit very limited opportunities conceivably for pickleball courts to be located in some of the city's commercial zones if they're far enough away from a dwelling or a residentially zoned lot. In particular, they would have to be over 300 feet away, and then they would be eligible for a conditional use permit. And a conditional use permit, in order to obtain one of those, that itself is a decision that goes before the Planning Commission, where neighbors and the public have an opportunity to testify, and where certain criteria have to be met for that permit to be approved. Particularly that the site wouldn't cause or that the pickleball wouldn't cause excessive impacts on neighboring properties. So this is mostly a proposed prohibition on pickleball throughout most of the city, with a few limited potential opportunities for pickleball courts to be established if they meet certain criteria that would have to be deliberated over by the Planning Commission at the time that someone applies for a permit to do it. I'm going to get into the decision criteria next. So for a legislative text amendment, the criteria that the Planning Commission and City Council are supposed to consider are: does the amendment support and is it consistent with the city's comprehensive plan? And is there a public interest or a public need for the amendment? So staff did some firsthand research measuring pickleball noise at the city's pickleball courts to understand how far away noise travels from those courts. And we also looked at practices in other cities that have adopted prohibitions similar to the one proposed here to understand how they evaluated pickleball noise. And we found that 300 feet is a distance that will reasonably ensure that pickleball noise remains below the decibel limits established in our nuisance ordinance. That which is 55 decibels and applies to all kinds of noise, not just pickleball. So that's some of the background on how we developed the distance. And we looked at approaches from other cities, and the approach that we're taking is similar to what some other cities have done as well. So the city issued public notice for this hearing, and we're holding this hearing to make sure that everyone has a chance to weigh in and express their opinion. Staff reviewed the comprehensive plan, and most policies in our comprehensive plan are not applicable to this situation. They're just about other topics like transportation or natural resources, but there are some applicable policies. We found that the comprehensive plan is not contradictory to what we're trying to do with this amendment. Generally, the comprehensive plan supports the city providing recreational opportunities and not inhibiting recreational opportunities, but it also doesn't have particularly strong language saying that pickleball or other forms of recreation shouldn't be regulated if they have impacts on the public. The Parks and Recreation System Master Plan does specifically refer to the city courts in downtown Gearhart. And we've provided in the proposed text amendment an exception to the prohibition, the 300-foot based distance prohibition, where the existing courts that are already being used for pickleball would be allowed to remain. If they're expanded, they would have to obtain a conditional use permit, and that would be the city or a partner. If they want to expand them, would have to go through a conditional use permit process. Any other findings I want to highlight for you? I don't think so. Basically, we didn't find any ways in which the proposed amendments are contradictory to our comprehensive plan. And multiple Gearhart residents have expressed that there's a need for the amendments. And this is an opportunity for the public to provide more information and more opinions on it, and for the Planning Commission to consider those. And the Planning Commission can recommend that City Council approve the amendments, can recommend that they don't approve them, or can recommend changes. Planning Commission can ask for staff to bring back changes to the draft in a continued Planning Commission hearing, or you could recommend approval of the proposed amendments with some conditions that staff change one item or another for the City Council draft. And with that, I will conclude the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. Do we have questions for Garrett at this point? Because the city is the applicant, so we don't have such a person who's going to stand up and give testimony in front of us. Are there any questions from anyone at this point?
Okay.
Emerson?
Didn't this originate because a resident on South Ocean was alarmed because there was a tennis court across the street that was being resurfaced and had pickleball lines on it, as well as a tennis court line?
Yes,
And that individual was concerned about the noise.
yes.
Why is he not hurt? He was the one that initially petitioned.
He doesn't, he brought the issue to us,
Okay.
but the city is the applicant. This is an amendment to zoning, is amendment to text, like, so legislative text amendment. He's not personally, he brought the issue to us.
Okay.
For these kind of things, it's the city doing it. It's much like when we had the master parks plan or the transportation system plan, you have those kind of changes.
All right.
Okay. Eric, Don, Russ, Jennifer? I have a question for you, Garrett. Maybe it's a question for Chad. In some of our, correspondence, we have a letter from Chris Lamb, who is the president of the Highlands HOA. Highlands is in the urban growth boundary, but not within the city, and they have had pickleball courts there. Do they fall underneath this? Yes.
If those pickleball courts are in fact in the urban growth boundary, our zone code is what applies to that.
Okay,
And I'm pretty sure their pickleball courts are in the urban growth boundary. I'll double check that.
yes,
But then
they are in the urban growth
they
boundary.
would become then non-conforming and they would be allowed to continue.
Okay,
They just wouldn't be able to stop using them, turn it into tennis courts and then try to go back to pickleball.
okay, I want clarification because we've talked about the public ones. They're up the street here and we would need to make sure that those are also included. They've been there for some time.
Yeah, and they're in the park zone as well, so.
They are, they're in.
And funny thing is those pickleballs for the Highlands are outside of urban growth boundaries, so no, they don't have anything to do with
I
it.
thought Highlands was in.
The Highlands is, the pickleball court's not.
What, they have a little cutout?
No, it just stops at about 300 or 100 yards to the
You're
south.
right, it's that line goes through to the south, sorry. The line goes through the south of it, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Thank you. We don't need to worry about those pickleball courts.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. We've answered the questions. We don't have any more questions from the commissioners. So now is the time. I'm sorry, they buried my instructions. First we'll have, at the staff report, proponents. I have two people listed as proponents. I'm gonna need to wait for Angeline. Brad,
Brad Winger,
okay,
thank you.
okay, and you need to, I'm sorry.
Oh, I
Please,
need to
please
give
give
my
your name,
address.
your address. I know it's written down here, but it needs to be on the recording.
Excuse me. Jerry. Brad Winger, 1459 North Cottage. Believe I filed a letter for the record when this was last before you, and then was at the city council meeting, and now we're back here. And I wanted to endorse the comments that are on file from Terry Graff, who is here and a lot more eloquent than me. You can call me eloquent at all. Anyway, the way I look at it is the noise problem, or the certainty, I guess, that pickleball noise violates the noise ordinance. The way to deal with that is for a zoning change. Rather than have Chad kind of walking around and seeing or monitoring the noise or where it might occur. You know, I didn't take a great inventory of the amount of land around that might be subject to a pickleball court, but there are some lots. And being down on North Cottage, there's a whole bunch of lots to be built on meadowland. So that's kind of my personal, from where we sit, reason for supporting the amendment or the proposal that you have before you tonight. And, you know, I would urge you to adopt that or some substantial form of that, and then get it back to the city council.
Thank you. The other proponent, I believe that's Terry Graff,
He was supposed to go first.
but he signed in after you.
I've already been.
No,
before you.
Terry,
Pardon?
Your full name and mailing address.
Terry Graff, 302 South Ocean, Gerhart. And I've already appeared before you twice, and I don't want to bore you by going over and over the same thing. But I do want to thank you for all the time and effort that you put into this. And I do want to remind you that the last time Pickleball Bay came before the Planning Commission was a request to turn the second tennis court into a pickleball court. And there was overwhelming opposition to pickleball at that time. I think there were 25 people who showed up to speak, and there were like 70 letters written. And I think that is still the sentiment of what's going on in Gerhart. And it is a noise issue. And I hope that, and I support what you're proposing and 100%. And again, I thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, now it's time for opponents to speak. And the first one I have. Oh, online. Are there any proponents online? Okay, no hands are raised. All right, so now we'll hear from opponents. The first name I have is Kathy Gardner. Please stand and give us your name and your mailing address, please.
My name is Kathy Gardner. My address is 2416 Pine Ridge Drive in Gerhart. And I am opposed to this amendment. Number one, I have a driveway where I have lines for my pickleball court. It's an outdoor sport. Usually in pickleball, you can't play when it's raining. You can only play when it's sunny. So that precludes a lot of the time of the year that people can play. And it's my personal property. I have a large lot. It's not bothering me. I've already checked with my neighbors. I played at the Gerhart courts. It's very crowded. It's busy down there. There's a lot more people who play in the summer months than there are courts. So I highly disagree with the fact that the city would come to me at this point and tell me I can't play pickleball for an hour a day, 2 hours a day, when I hear leaf blowers and chainsaws and there are basketball courts down the street from me, as well as I hear the golf course from my house. I don't know where we're gonna stop telling people what they can do in terms of recreation. And also, we do have noise ordinance. And if people would just be respectful of a noise ordinance so that people can enjoy their property and their activities. So I hope you would take that into consideration. It's a good activity. I see people on e-bikes going, and those are noisy too, and they go right by my street. Are you going to say nobody can ride an e-bike? I mean, you've got to pick, the noise ordinance makes sense. The idea of banning a sport does not make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Are you playing with the timer somewhere because or did you not reset it or what?
I'm just not doing a great job with that. No, I'll pay attention.
You're doing a very poor job.
Yes.
I'm going, oh, she's been talking for 5 minutes. Okay, I have a second opponent here. I believe it's Carlin Graham. Is that right?
Yes. Hi,
Right here.
my name's Carla Graham. My mailing address is 2348, P.O. Box 2348 here.
She's on.
Oh, did she?
Just,
Anyway,
no. You're fine. Go ahead. We'll sort it out afterwards. Sit down. We'll sort it out.
so saying I'm opponent is a little bit strong. I'm opponent neutral. We live 2 houses from the tennis court that's been brought up, that's being transformed into a pickleball court. I'm a little concerned because number one, it's private property. This court has been there since long before I've been in Gerhart, and we've been in our house for over 80 years. The court is used very seldom. Granted, years ago, we used to play on the court occasionally. It's been refurbished because it needed to be. I find it difficult to understand how someone can improve a piece of property to be told that they cannot use it. It's not a short-term rental. It's used very seldom. They're not in Gearhart that often. Yes, the noise would be an issue, but it's not like a public court that will be used for tournaments and all sorts of gatherings. This is a family home that they use the courts. So I guess I'm leaning more towards unopposed. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, were you opposed to this pickleball court thing? All right. You didn't sign in, but
Yes, I did.
and we are,
Chester.
okay, oh, she's on this one. All right, we're sorry, we'll fix it.
Do I need to stand?
If you can, or you can stay where you are, if you need to speak, so,
I'm a little wobbly, I've had a few strokes.
okay,
One of my homes, it's
just wait a minute, Lori. Lori,
Laura.
Lori, state your name,
That's what I was gonna say.
we're tape recorded, and your address, please.
Laura Chester, 523 Railroad Avenue, Gearhart,
Thank you.
97138.
Okay, go ahead.
And it's one of my homes, and I have over 1 acre of property, and it's been I have a 40 by 60 pole barn that we've always had the 4-H program in there. And then after that, the sessions, the kids would play basketball, they've had horseshoes, croquet, volleyball, and they play soccer in the field between the house and the barn. And in the barn, we've even had fencing, kids fencing. And I don't see how my grandkids and great grandkids want to play there now. And how, if you're gonna eliminate pickleball there, what about the basketball noise and them playing volleyball and if it's inside my own barn, is the ordinance against what you do in your own barn? It's a 40 by 60 and it's, I don't, is that being addressed indoor too? Eliminated pickleball that way too?
We will answer your question right now. We appreciate you posing the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was wondering, does it?
Well, we'll discuss it amongst us, will we discuss? But you're posing the question, that's a concern of yours, so you, and that's fine, but we just won't answer you back right now, okay? Because we need to discuss, we need to reach your own conclusions, all right? Anything else?
No, I'm sorry. It's just very hard for me.
You're fine. You're fine.
It's difficult.
You're fine. All right. I've heard from everyone. Have I heard from everyone? No. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak that didn't sign in?
I did actually sign in.
Okay, there were multiple sign-up sheets.
That might have been.
Okay, who are you?
I'm Thomas Bauman.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thomas, if you'd like to stand and give us your address, and we'll switch you to the right sheet.
Sure. A little nervous, so
Your
let's go
name
slowly.
and address,
Name
those
and
are the
address.
easy things.
We'll start with the easy things. My name's Thomas Bauman, and I am married into the family that owns a famous house at 251 South Ocean with the refurbished tennis court. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my family. Larry and Nancy Price bought the house, bought the property in 1975. And built the house adjacent to the tennis court in 1980. And we've used the tennis court over the years for lots of different things. We played tennis there, of course. We played basketball. Kids ride skateboards, kids ride bikes, and we played pickleball. In fact, this is maybe a little bit gimmicky, but I just thought it might be interesting to people. These pickleball paddles were given to the prices in, I think, around 1985 with some guests. And so we pull these out from time to time. Nobody in our family is a real avid player, but this is something that we've done since 1985. So among all these other activities, pickleball is certainly something that has been something that we've done. I did write a letter to the planning commission with some thoughts, and I saw at one point that our tennis court was kind of characterized as abandoned and unused for 30 years. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me, given that the entire time that I've been married to my wife Laura, we've been using it, but on the occasions that we come down. But I think that's probably a fairly good illustration that that's how our neighbors see the court. It probably means that the times that we've used it have actually not been that impactful on our neighbors. And I think that as we refurbished the court back in April, we just made an assumption that our use would kind of remain relatively infrequent. We wanted to make sure that we had a chance to enjoy the court now that we've made this investment, because it really was in need of repair. The fences were damaged in a storm. We wanted to make sure that our fence was intact and safe, and we wanted to make sure that, and we decided just to take the opportunity to give the court a little bit of TLC, because we had never really done anything besides just go in and update the striping from time to time. And yes, we did think that, like, well, we'll continue hopefully to occasionally go out and play pickleball. I understand that my neighbors who are concerned about the noise that we make can't rely necessarily on our assurances that this is more or less going to be the same. And I've also seen, we didn't really know that this process was underway, that a ban was being proposed until we got the letter about this meeting. So I tried to catch up and do some homework, and I did see that one thing that people were concerned about is like, okay, well, great, if the prices barely ever play, then maybe there's no noise issue, but what about the people that come after them? Those seem like pretty valid concerns. And then the concern about the noise in general seems valid to me as well. So I think if I'm saying that I'm in opposition of a ban, and I'm in opposition of something that would disallow us from being able to use the court, continue to use the court in the way that we've done since the press family bought the place about 50 years ago. I think it's reasonable to put limits, to have parameters when pickleball would not be allowed. So to have a limited number of hours in a day, for example, seems to me like a very reasonable thing that would actually be pretty consistent with the way we use the court.
You've got about 30 seconds.
30 seconds. There's other ways to reduce the sound. We could play with softballs. There's noise mitigating paddles, that sort of thing. We would understand if that was a rule that was required. But it also seems like this could be set up in a way where a use is under some kind of permit that's subject to occasional review. So if we're living up to the fears that all our neighbors have about the noise that we're going to create, maybe there's an opportunity to just have a permitting system where our permit is revoked because we're just not following the rules. That seems very reasonable to me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Chance to talk.
Okay. I'll ask again, is there anyone else?
Yes,
Oh, vote, okay. Did
can you hear me?
Wait. Mr. Maury, did you sign in?
I did not, but I'd like to speak after the lady votes.
Who is speaking?
Miss Whitney Nye.
This is hi, my name's Whitney Nye and
How are you
our
spelling your last name, please?
NYE.
And your address?
We have a house on Second Street right behind the pickleball courts.
We'll just need your address, ma'am.
Oh, 389.
389 what street?
Yeah. Second.
Thank you. I missed that.
Okay, you got 5 minutes.
And I'm an avid pickleball player. And so of course I don't want a new ban on anybody having a good time. And I missed some of the meeting because I got disconnected, but I know Garrett was talking about the decibel measurement of 55. And I heard somebody speak to the fact about leaf blowers, which in my mind are, should be, the gas leaf blowers should be eliminated and moved to electric, like a lot of places are doing. And I oppose the fact that a homeowner couldn't potentially build their own court if they wanted to. I understand there'd be a permitting process, and but I would hate to see that be something that no homeowner in Gerhart could do. And I've also, pickleball brings a lot of people to places, and I wouldn't want to see Gerhart limit, the fact that, there's 2 courts now. They could potentially have 4 courts. I'm also a tennis player too, so, I appreciate having the tennis courts there. But I think it's only growing and more people are playing and more people are having fun. And so you can't play before 8 o'clock, and maybe there's a limit on when you can play at night. But, I'd like to see the numbers of people that oppose it versus the number of people that would say this is something that's great for the community. What else did I have to say? I think that's about it. Just that I wouldn't want there to be limitations for the community.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Maury.
Thanks. My name is Bob Maury. The address is 271 D Street, Gerhart. Also, we own the Gerhart School, which has a gymnasium, which now you're asking to become a conditional use to play pickleball inside the gymnasium. Well, I've had pickleball players down just testing it. You can't hear anything outside if the doors are closed. If they're open, it's the minimus which you hear. The idea that we're going to go through and have to get a conditional use permit to play on an inside court is wrong, like the lady mentioned on her barn. I love what the Prices have done to their family home. Resurfacing that court, I go by it multiple times every day, and after the 9 years we owned that house on D Street. That's our layout if we want to go to the center of town. I happened to talking to Jennifer and Casey. That's a daughter and son-in-law, same story. They occasionally play pickleball. And they have for since 1985 or so, that's when we started, occasionally play pickleball. We did have our council submit her analysis of what you're doing. Their place, our place, existing uses. If you go after them, you're putting yourself open for takings. That's not yours. That's the city council's choice to decide what they want to do. And give some thought. I think Terry's mean-spirited amendment. I mean, he bought.
We don't, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
That's inappropriate.
Thank you for telling me that. He bought across the street from a pickleball court. He's walked by it for years, like all of us who walk by it. We know how infrequently it has been used. It's a private property, so, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I
It
did
went,
sign up.
pardon?
I did sign up.
All right. And your name?
Michael Beeman.
Oh, he's over there. Okay, oh, the wrong sheet, I'm sorry.
Probably a hard time reading that.
Okay, all right. So Michael, go ahead, if you can stand up, please, and give us your full name and your
Michael
address.
Beeman, Beeman Architecture, 707 North Cottage.
Okay.
And, this item kind of caught my attention a little bit, not that I'm an avid, pickleball player, not that I have a property that I intend to do a pickleball court on or anything like that. What caught my, attention to this was, it's kind of ironic. I mean, it's an activity when in reality, the problem is the noise. And you're gonna ban an activity because of a perceived noise problem. So I kind of, I sent a letter in to Angelina.
We had that.
And I kind of, I'm gonna pose a question here, and I don't know with some of the opponents, that if you did mitigate, like Garrett was saying, you mitigate the activity, but you don't ban it. If you basically said, okay, you did some noise attenuation on public courts, which isn't that hard to do, and you only allowed the noise attenuating paddles and the softer foam balls, I mean, would that fit the bill? It seems, maybe it's the hippie side of me.
He's been chatting.
Well, excuse me.
That when you start to ban activities that are legal, that are leisure.
Can you mute your mic,
activities,
please?
I think
Just wait a second, we've got to mute someone here. There, now they're having a family discussion, I'm sorry.
no problem. So I just have a kind of an issue with that. And I'm a newer resident down here. And I just didn't want to see it go this way. And yeah, I know Tom, that's, I mean, I know the whole story on that. But with existing, when people have existing properties and it's a non-conforming use all of a sudden, then it's kind of not really a fair game. I totally understand when you kind of go, okay, let's change the zoning. So for new installations, I get it. I don't quite get it when the rules are changed after the fact. So anyway, that was my whole 2 cents for what it's worth.
Okay, thank you.
Don't hate me.
Thank you for your 2 cents. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay. Garrett, did you want to add anything else in as you are representing the city as the applicant?
I'll just say that, when we had our discussions in September, you asked staff to bring forward the amendments in the spirit of let's get this out to the public and get some input on it and see what ideas people bring to the table. And I think that so far, that idea was successful. We've gotten some interesting input. We're ready to do whatever you want in terms of your recommendation. We can take this forward to City Council as it is. We can also draft amendments or changes to the amendments that make pickleball a conditional use in all of the referenced areas, for example, or a conditional use with a time limit on the conditional use permit.
What do you mean
where
by that?
applicants, well, it could be a conditional use permit that's valid for a certain number of years.
Okay.
And applicants, for example, could basically make their best case in a conditional use permit hearing on any number of mitigation measures that they propose to reduce noise. And high quality applications would include some kind of professional noise analysis, probably. Some cities also specify what kinds of mitigation measures should be used when pickleball is permitted. And I would just say that part of staff's intention bringing forward these relatively simple amendments is that we're trying to be responsive to the public's concerns who are concerned about pickleball noise, responsive to city council and you all. And we also have a fairly immense work plan right now with other zoning amendments and hearings-based decisions. And we didn't want to have a process that was as lengthy as the tree ordinance amendments, for example, over pickleball. And so we're just trying to keep it simple, and we're ready to take your direction and work with it.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. At this point, I will close the public hearing. It is time for our discussion, for input. As you know, Don, I always start with you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. The pickleball meetings are our most popular.
Well, you weren't here for short-term rental.
Right. We talked about the public courts hours, and that's pretty much what, 8 AM till dark. There's no lights there, so, and that obviously changes in the winter. And do we have a good neighbor policy? I know that's been written down a few times. Is that an actual thing?
Good neighbor policy is in place for those short-term vacation rentals,
Okay.
but no, not for the general residential areas of your
Um, it seems to me that a good neighbor policy, as far as recreating with your neighbors or just being a good neighbor and through noise or music or whatever it is really kind of the most applicable thing. I think maybe a zoning change is a bit heavy-handed, honestly. I've talked to a lot of people in the community about this, and it's kind of 50-50, I suppose, but you know, there's talk about people wanting to be active and recreate and use their property for what they want. You know, and as long as they're not drilling for oil or something like that, I think that's good. But ultimately, I think what it is the pickleball industry itself is really letting everybody down. You know, there have been numerous complaints and discussions like this and throughout the country, and the problem is created by the people who make all this stuff. And I think they're the ones who really need to figure out how to deal with this so that people can enjoy their activities. Ultimately, I think it should be between the neighbors. They should be able to figure it out, not us.
Thank you, Don. Commissioner Eric?
I have a question for Garrett. The counsel for Mr. Maury made a comment that all amendments to the zoning code required notice to DLCD 35 days before the initial land use hearing. Can you confirm that that would be true and whether or not we did that, and are we in compliance with that rule? Oh, you're muted, Garrett.
We did not meet that deadline by a few days.
Does that alter what we're able to accomplish by having not filed that?
Yeah, if a party to this hearing or a city council hearing decided to bring that up in the hearing like they have and they appealed, they could be successful in their appeal based on that issue. So if we wanted to be insulated against that possibility, we would restart this process with a new 35-day notice to DLCD and a new planning commission hearing. So that would be a December hearing with whatever changes you propose tonight.
Okay. I want to thank all the people who came and have spoken to this, both for and against, and who wrote in and such. I personally have a lot of mixed feelings about this. I appreciate people want to be able to recreate and that they want to be able to do activities on their private property. We all want that. I think Don's point about a good neighbor policy is valid. I think we need to make clear, for myself at least, anybody with a pre-existing pickleball court is going to still be free to use it, even if we make this, even if we were to pass an ordinance that says you can't have a pickleball court in the city limits. Anybody with a current court is still able to use that because we can't take that away from them. Is that correct?
Yeah, they would be non-conforming.
Yes.
They'd be allowed to use it.
Okay. So it does only deal with going forwards to the future to prevent anybody in the future from putting in court. That still may be a limiting issue. People may not agree with that, but it won't preclude anybody that's here and spoken to the fact they'd like to use their own property. So at least it's a bit of a compromise there. I also appreciate the comments that the possibility of making an ordinance that if people want to play pickleball, they have to use noise dampening equipment, kind of enforce a good neighbor policy. I personally might be more comfortable with that than saying people can't use the land. And we also have the confusing issue that we can tell them they can't put in a pickleball court in the future, but that does not preclude people from using pickleball balls and paddles in their backyard or in their front yard or on their driveway. They can still play pickleball. They just can't have painted lines somewhere on their property. Because we can't legislate the activity. We legislate that they can't put a court on their property. That doesn't necessarily solve the problem that we're after. So those are my thoughts. I don't have a necessary conclusion there for the moment. I'd like to hear what everybody else on our commission has to say, but those are my concerns at the moment.
Emerson?
Since this ordinance would not do anything to stop noise from any existing courts, it doesn't do anything to reduce noise from public courts. And it certainly wouldn't stop noise from people playing with pickleball equipment in their backyards and streets. I think this is a very poor tool to get at what is a noise problem. So that's my 2 cents.
That's your 2 cents. We have a lot of 2 cents tonight. We're at 4. Russ?
Well, I was thinking about the historical situation we ran into with the public courts, where there were people blocks away that were, weighing in to the noise. My problem really, and I appreciate everybody's, the freedom to use your property, but if we make it a noise situation, then it becomes Chad's situation. And I guess where I would lean to is, and if what you say, Eric, is true, and if Chad concludes that if there's courts there, we can't tell them to not use them if they're pre-existing. And if they do it and it becomes too loud, then it becomes Chad's job to go over there and say, hey, you can't play pickleball on your pickleball court because it's noise. So where I'm coming from is I would like to see us ban it if there are, if we get into a situation where the existing courts become problematic to the neighborhood, the city adds another layer that I would rather not see us add, but that's what we'd end up having to do. As to the noise attenuated equipment, that was brought up during the public court debacle. And so far, those people were turned down for a second court. And they were essentially said, hey, if you get noise abatement equipment, come back and knock on our door. Well, so far they haven't. So I'm presuming that the noise abatement equipment is not sufficient or, doesn't reduce the level to a non-noise, over the noise limit problem situation. So, and as for Our Lady with the barn, I presume that barn could be built and insulated and you'd have to come to us and say, hey, I've got an indoor court, which we're not, as far as I can read this, there's nothing against indoor courts. The way the starting paragraph from.
It is still, because it's saying R1, it isn't saying outdoors R1.
Oh, well, I thought I said something about an outdoor court, but anyway, that is my input.
Jennifer.
I agree with many of the things that the other commissioners have said. I know we started this process wanting to come to some kind of a conclusion that would be simple for staff to enforce. As Russ has said, Chad going out with a gun, trying to chase down something that was happening at a particular time because a complaint is a lot of time and effort, not as a good a solution. And as others have said, if the activity is, we are a land use group, and if we're talking about an activity, do you call a driveway a court? Do you call a barn a court if you're just playing? I don't have a lot of light to shed on this. I see the value of recreation and being able to do this, and I see that the sound can be an irritant. I don't have an answer.
Dang. I've always considered our noise ordinance kind of weak, because you have to have an extended time period if the noise continuing, which means someone has to go out like the police and sit there and wait for the noise to be, make sure it's going all this length of time. And the noise ordinance is there, but it's a lot of other steps you have to do, and I do not want to see our city staff having to see if someone's doing good giggles or using the right paddles or the right balls. That's my concern. I quite frankly don't care if it's inside, if it's inside an enclosed building, whether it's, I said jokingly last time we met, I said, if someone decides to turn their front room into a pickleball court, I don't care, because I don't think that in most houses you would be able to hear them playing pickleball inside in their front room. I'm not getting a clear brief from anybody. I am sorry. Who wants to? We've discussed it. We've heard from the people. We know the pickleball is popular. I am concerned that with your, and I'm talking to you, so I'm concerned with your pickleball court that why it's on private property. And I'm kind of getting two different reads. One, you use it all the time, and I want to say it's rarely used. And I don't know where we are. Just wait a second. My concern is that then Jane Doe says, "Oh, there's a pickleball court. Let's the four of us ladies go over there and play pickleball." on your private court when you're not there. And that's another concern. It's one thing for them to use the public courts here, but we know what happens in this community. Sometimes people aren't there for a long time. People go, oh, I'll go use their court or whatever. Do you have an answer to that one?
We've talked about posting some no trespassing signs. We haven't considered like creating a gate. It just seems, it seems unnecessary to us. Even almost I'd say that about the no trespassing signs as well. And we don't play all the time. We have been playing occasionally since 1985. Just one, it sounded like I wasn't.
Well, as you mentioned yourself, there's been different stories. It's been, you know, it's derelict, no one's been out for 30 years and yet you've been there, so I can't say where the truth is, and that's why I'm just asking for your input.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Do we want, we get basically three choices. We can recommend to the city council. We can make a recommendation. We can rewrite this. We can make additions. We can make subtractions. We can not vote to recommend it. We can say, we want to go back and look at this again and add the paperwork filed and come back in December to look at it. I am looking from input from the five of you. Yes, Eric.
Well, one amendment I'd make to what we have right now is I wonder if we need to be making any limitation for an indoor court. I wonder if we're going to go forward with the land use decision and outlaw courts, if we would specify outdoor courts.
Outdoor court.
And make the assumption, if somebody was doing it indoors, it would not be a noise nuisance. That would be one change to what we have that might at least ameliorate some of the issues that the public has.
Okay.
That'd be one thought. Another thought is, what does the commission think? And Ginny, you made your thoughts clear, I think, about this. But what would the commission think in general if we change this to an ordinance that required people to use noise dampening equipment? That was a suggestion made from the public. And I don't think it's so hard to enforce. You'd have a neighbor complain because there are people playing on their private court or in their driveway or whatever with regular pickleball equipment, and they'd call the police. And the police would go over there and have to say, I'm sorry, folks, if you're gonna play pickleball, we have an ordinance, you gotta use a dampening ball and paddle. And it's not, I don't think that hard to enforce. It requires some enforcement. If a good neighbor policy doesn't take care of it, if the neighbor can't just go over and say to the person, hey, you know, we have an ordinance in town. If you're gonna play pickleball on a private court, I don't think this would apply to the public court. Then you have to use noise dampening balls and paddles, and that's the ordinance. What would the commission think of that?
So Eric, I'm going to try to paraphrase you, but you're really, what I think you're suggesting is rather than the banning, is to make the use of it. And I actually like the idea of someone coming in and just applying for a conditional use. So you could go over what's expected. And you're saying you'd be granted conditional use, but would require to use sound dampening equipment. Are you going to put hours on it? No, you don't care what hours.
Well, that's a thought. I haven't thought that through.
But that's
right. People could apply for a permit to play pickleball on their private property.
Right.
Because we have because it is known to be a nuisance.
All right.
And, but we want to allow people to do it. But there are certain conditions under which it's done on private property, separate from a park.
Okay.
That's a thought. I will put it, how that applies.
Good thought.
Well, my concern with that is that we don't know what sound dampening equipment is. And what dBA level it provides, so before we put that in there, we need to have some results from somebody saying, hey, yeah, that takes it down to 38.
I don't know that myself either, I'm making the assumption that stuff.
Well, I would make a motion.
Just wait a second, Ross, before you make the motion. Garrett, do you know the answer to that?
No, I don't have an answer to how each different type of potential mitigation would reduce the decibel levels. But you're not like out of bounds, and you do have a basis if you want to just require that outdoor pickleball courts in all zones obtain a conditional use permit, for example. And you're welcome to request more information from staff, but you don't need to feel like you don't have a basis for making that decision yet necessarily if you want to go ahead with it.
Okay, Mr. Beaman, you had something, do you know
I did
the
do
answer to
some
your
research.
question?
Yeah, I did do some research on the equipment. And I was gonna bring some of it in, but what the manufacturer's literature says is the sound dampening equipment will make it actually no louder or less loud than tennis. And so it's kind of like, I think what you need to do is, before you get too far into saying yes or no or amend it, is, just get some of the equipment and see, because it's not like Tom's paddles that he brought in. So that's one thing, but the other side to it is, say on the public courts, there's sound dampening fabric you can put on the chain link that'll knock down quite a bit of noise. An acoustical engineer would tell you better about this stuff, but I think, like I said, there's things that can be done.
Sure.
Rather than banning an activity, which I think is precarious.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, yes, Don, then Roxanna.
Well, it sounds like we may have a pickleball field trip in our future. My question is, what is the cost of a conditional use permit for this kind of thing?
1,200, 2,000.
For conditional use, I think it's 15.
Really?
$1,500.
$1,500, and you can play basketball there. Driveway?
Basketball is currently not permitted.
I think part of.
But not have a conversation, please, no, not now.
I mean, somebody brought it up, like it doesn't necessarily have to even be on a pickleball court, it can just be two kids or grown-ups that are in the street.
Right.
And so,
Absolutely.
having court or not, I don't think affects it.
Russ, you said you had a motion?
Well, I'm gonna attempt to have one. But
Okay.
let's see if I'm sure I'll miss something, but I'm gonna say, propose we continue the hearing to a certain time and date to be determined later. At which point we determine, we determine whether we're going, the kind of equipment that, we put a dBA limit on the equipment. So we'd say sound deadening equipment not to exceed X decibels. So that you don't buy the cheap one, you buy the best one you can get. Well, we would determine that. We would also specify whether we have existing courts that are, grandfathered in, put that in the amendment, so it's not just conjecture. And I think that's what I'm suggesting, another roll at it.
So the essence of your motion, Russ, is to continue the hearing to a certain date in the future.
Yeah.
That's your motion. I need a second on that, or not a second.
I'll second the continuation.
Don will second that. Eric, you had something to say?
Well, the motion is only to continue the hearing.
Yes,
Does the motion have to say what we're going to explore in the interim?
no. It just says we're going to extend it. Then, after we decide whether to extend it or not, we can give further instructions to the staff. Okay,
Okay.
but yes, you can just, as I read in my opening statement that you listened to, anyone can ask to have that done.
Okay.
Do I have any other discussion on this?
Well, I would prefer to scrap what's been proposed entirely. And look at if we're gonna regulate it through a noise ordinance or some kind of hours of use that also covers the public courts, because clearly the public courts are the biggest offenders for people that hate pickleball.
Mhm.
And if that takes it out of the planning commission, that's fine with me too.
So thank you. We have a motion to continue the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
And Emerson said no. Okay, so we will extend this. Like to extend it to. Sorry about that. Where are we going to extend?
Do you want the
I
next?
think you're at such a fun time.
I want time, December 11th. December 11th. And that's what we will do. I'm going to take a 15-minute break. Those of you that might want to leave now, this is a good time for you to exit, go to bed, or whatever. Those that want to stay, we have 2 more issues before tonight. Okay.
I had one other thing. I could buy some equipment and we could basically get people down there and see the game with the sound attenuating. A lot of this.
Commissioner Frank wants to go on a field trip.
Yeah. I won't play. Nobody.
What's I just realized.
That was like.
Yeah, these are.
Have the opportunity to talk again. Yeah, I've been doing this for 14 years.
In that terms, because I think yeah, there would have been one thing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so, you know, you have to affect,
I don't think.
people that really gonna be affected.
That's really.
Are those that have been.
Plays out.
The driveway's pretty flat, and wide, I mean, they're like 4 cars. Okay, Donna, Harry, come back. Nice to see you. I think I'm. You're not gonna tell them.
Well,
Jenny's so nice.
well, maybe not. We'll see. Well, we should brainstorm. Okay, I think I've already heard some. Yeah, me too.
Jenny,
Right,
can I ask you a question? Quickly, are we going
Yeah.
to be giving staff direction about what we want them to be doing?
I think the staff got a whole pile of direction.
Intention. Okay.
Okay, are we all back here? So we broke for 5 minutes. We're gonna start again. Garrett, did you get, goodbye, Garrett. I didn't give you a break, sorry. Do you have, between you and Chad, do you have enough direction to what else to look at?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of ideas from y'all there, and they're not
Okay.
all exactly the same, but we have enough where we can bring changes back to you, and you'll have to deliberate over those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, it's something that, as we discussed, we don't have clear picture, and I'm sorry about that. All right, are we ready to do the, okay, so. Gotta go to my, whatever it is. All right, so now I'm going to open the public hearing, file 25-25-07 APPL, appeal of expiration of a vacation rental permit submitted by Jeff Miller, located at 101 Fifth Street and further described as Assessor's Plot 6.10.04 DD, tax lot 07500. Said request is to reinstate the expired permit. I will ask the commissioners again. Do you need to declare a conflict of interest and ex parte contact for personal bias?
No.
No. I will ask the audience, are there any challenges to the commission to make, ability to make an impartial decision? No. Okay, staff report, Garrett, please.
All right, so this is an appeal of a staff decision. And appeals of staff decisions are regulated by zoning ordinance section 13.060. Basically, we have a hearing where the planning commission is supposed to either uphold staff's decision or reverse it based on whether or not the decision was an appropriate interpretation of the zoning ordinance, or if there's some constitutional due process issue with staff's decision. So essentially, what happened here is that a holder of a permit for a short-term rental had their permit expire. It expired as a matter of course, as specified in the ordinance on the expiration date, when it was not renewed before that date. And staff did issue a notice of decision to the permit holder, and that made it appealable in a sense. It can appeal that written decision. So we gave them the opportunity to appeal, and they submitted an appeal application. The appeal application didn't, in staff's view, identify any way in which we didn't interpret the ordinance correctly in allowing the permit to expire. And it didn't identify like other constitutional issues. So nonetheless, staff processed the request and scheduled this hearing and provided a staff report and a record from staff on the timeline about the kinds of notices that we provide in advance of when a short-term rental permit expires, at least 30 days and at least 60 days in advance, and then a record of additional communications that we had with the permit holder and their agents in the weeks leading up to expiration. And the appellant can bring up an interpretation issue and basically supply grounds for appeal and grounds for reversal of the permit now if they can and want to. But again, staff did not find a reason why the ordinance was interpreted incorrectly. We did provide the entire set of sections from Gearhart zoning ordinance, Article 7, vacation rentals, but I would draw your attention specifically to section 9, which is on page 3 of 4 as labeled at the bottom of the staff report. And that's where the zoning ordinance discusses annual renewal. And essentially the permit expired on the expiration date. So the appellant provided some of their own documentation, which is titled on the front page Gearhart House Timeline. That was a collection of emails and their own timeline that they provided. But essentially the permit just expired, and city staff's, I guess we didn't provide a recommendation in our staff report, but at this point we didn't see any grounds in the appellant's application or testimony that would be a basis for reversing the permit expiration. But if anything comes up, we're here to talk about that tonight, and this is an opportunity for that.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. Are there any questions for Garrett at this point? Yes, Eric.
Garrett, in section 9, the majority of it talks about the permit issuance. But it doesn't really describe to me as a person who's completely unfamiliar with this whole process, what to do to renew. It says, you have to pay your taxes. But and then it says, and if no proof of payment is provided, the vacation rental permit will not be renewed. But, so there's more steps than just paying the taxes, I take it. But if there are, they're not delineated here.
Yes. So my understanding is that after payment is submitted, a next step is required, and that is to submit a proof of payment, which I think has been called it's like a certification of payment through our online system. And those instructions, while not outlined in the zoning ordinance, are provided in the 30-day notice of expiration and 60-day notice that we issue before.
Oh, you say that is stated in those notices?
Yes, we provide instructions on how to do that. And
okay.
The appellant and other permit holders have all followed the instructions successfully several years in a row.
Okay. And on the summary that we got tonight, on the second page on the back, summary and comments, it says between May 22nd and June 30th and July 18th through 23rd, Mr. Miller's renewal could have been completed in the portal. So this could have been completed. The one time period where they tried to complete it isn't in this window of time. They could have done this from the middle of May, let's say, to the end of June. The portal would have allowed them to complete the process, but for this 3-week period or less in July, the portal prevents them. What's that about?
I might be able to answer that for you.
I can answer it too.
Okay.
I have all the stuff from Christie. I asked this question.
Okay.
I asked this question specifically to Christie because I did not know. So when she sent out the notification, May 23rd, 27th, whatever, he could have renewed it anytime up to June 30th. Because the taxes, the previous taxes had already been paid. Okay. When you hit July 1st, the taxes for the 3 months beforehand were due. You pay them, and essentially they're due by July 15th. They could be paid on July 2nd or July 3rd or whatever. But because there are now the room tax, transit room tax due on that, those have to be paid before you renew the license. But prior to that time period, up through June 30th, the prior period room taxes had already been paid. Through, let's see, we're April 1st, right? Yeah.
So what if they had renewed in that May, June period, and then did not file their taxes for it due in July? They'd already had the permit.
But they couldn't, that would also nullify it. They have, it's due on the 15th, they've got a grace period. 15 days, I believe is what Christie told me. True. It's due on the 15th, but they have a grace period in order to give it in. They paid it, the tax paid it.
Yeah, right, I realize.
Yeah. If they don't, I mean, there's 2 things. They have to renew their license and they have to pay the room tax.
Okay. And then one last clarifier. The description Mr. Miller made was that they were on a screen that they have clearly done all of this correctly for some number of years to get to this point. But this year they came upon a screen that they were apparently unfamiliar with. Was that something different? Did that portal create a new screen that had never been part of the process before? So the process did seem to them a little different.
I think what that had to do with, is what Virginia was talking about, is that if, let's say, they had their taxes already prepaid and they're in the May period of time, the system would allow them to renew because we have a current payment. But what happened at the beginning of July was that they had not yet paid their taxes. They went in to renew. The new quarter had started, and so the system says, wait, we don't have any current taxes, you're actually, a little bit behind, not behind, but we're awaiting your taxes, so we're not gonna open up the renewal until you pay the taxes. And then in the timeline, you'll see that Christie received all of the taxes from Picasso Properties, 19 of them in one check. And she received those on July 18th.
Right.
And then as soon as she put that payment in to Mr. Miller's account, then the system would allow them to renew it. What happened, I think, is Mr. Miller became concerned that there was an issue and stopped. And then maybe didn't realize that it had to do with that tax requirement. But then once that was fixed, we didn't get another attempt. And I don't think we got that error message again. There was no.
Having testimony.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question now?
Sure. I'm under the impression that Bicasa, this is the timing with which they have done this in the past, that they always kind of do it towards the end of the period. So if that were the case last year, if they did that the same way in July last year, would the portal have presented the same to a person trying to renew last year, or did something change in the portal if they came across the screen that was now different to them, telling them they can't renew because the taxes weren't paid? Because I get the impression that's when the taxes have always been paid, at least this time of year. And is it possible that they changed, the IT changed something so that they were faced with something? The process did look different to them, and it apparently buffered with that because it was different. Is that,
It may have been the first time that that showed up because of the way that the taxes were paid for them.
Right.
I can't answer whether or not this is a new feature though. I need Christie for that, but I do know that the other 62 didn't have the issue.
Well, the other
62 vacation rentals.
Right, but the
Although
other
they're on
19 Vacasa people.
Yeah, and they're on various different dates.
Right, okay, that's good enough, thank you very much.
Okay, you had a question, Emerson?
I've got a couple, and it could be for either Chad or Garrett. Is there anything similar to RCP 71, which will excuse mistakes, inadvertent or excusable neglect in failing to make one of these time debt?
Can you ask that one more time?
Okay,
sorry.
I'm asking if there's anything like Oregon Rules of Civil Procedure 71, which will excuse a mistake, inadvertence, or excusable neglect for failing to make a time.
Not in the ordinance.
Okay. Have you ever had one where somebody's raised equitable stop, which basically means they changed position on some misinformation that they have been given by the city? And I guess I'll ask the attorney, would that even apply here, assuming the elements were met?
You want to ask that to Jody?
Yes.
Jody, are you there?
Hey, I'm right here listening away. I am hesitant to grant any sort of exception or whatever, what have you, that isn't specifically listed in the Gerhardt zoning ordinance. Without being too overt, the avenues which are being talked, the legal avenues being talked about right now, so ORCP applies to circuit court actions. Just because it's at the planning commission doesn't mean that it's the end of the discussion forever. So it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but I will say that I don't think that this is necessarily the only avenue for determining something. Under your ordinance, yes, but there are other avenues. So if that helps at all, ORCP is not applicable to the zoning ordinance, but it is applicable to circuit.
Well, I know it would be, but I was trying to find out if there's anything in the ordinance themselves that addressed anything like it. Which,
There's nothing.
you know, which basically will leave us like a clerical error or something.
There's nothing that I've seen that allows for any sort of exception based on administrative errors, clerical errors, or what have you.
Any other questions for Garrett? All right, moving ahead, we're done with the staff report. Is the applicant here? Yes, if you please stand and give us your name and address, please.
Is that my billing address or my Gerhard address?
Your mailing address.
Your mailing address, please.
Jeff Miller, 2202 Southwest Kings Court, Portland 97205. Okay, well, I know some of you, we bought this property 45 years ago, and being on the waterfront, it was already 70 years old. Now it's 45 years older. We started renting it to friends and relatives to help pay for all of the maintenance. Mostly all family and friends, came every year, that vacation in Gerhard. When the new short-term rental program came along, about $100,000 worth of improvements were required, like a new septic tank and drain field and all those kinds of things. So we weren't going to be able to cover all of that. So we contacted Vacasa, and they said, yes, we can help you rent other times of year. So there's a lot of stuff in there, and I thought I would try to summarize it so it's not so complicated. All of what I'm saying can be verified by what's in your packets. But I gotta read this because it's a little complicated. So first, you should know my assistant tried to renew our permit twice, once in June and on July 7th. On July 7th, she was told by the city we could not renew until Vacasa, our rental company, had filed the taxes. We contacted Vacasa to find out when that would be, and were asked to wait to renew until the 15th of July or later, as the taxes had to be received and posted by the city before we could renew. The taxes were posted as paid by the city on Friday, July 18th at 4 p.m., 2 business days before the expiration date. My assistant was told that we would receive a confirmation of the payment, but no confirmation was received. A thorough search of our emails with the city shows no confirmation. On Monday, the 28th, 2 business days after the expiration date, my assistant attempted to submit again, and we received a window came up that said we could no longer renew. So quite simply, the question is, should 2 business day delay in a renewal application result in a permit cancellation when our efforts to renew the application on time were denied and no indication that they were now able to do so was received? The cancellation causes the cancellation of all the vacations for all the families who return year after year to enjoy Gerhard. Their weeks there are some of their fondest memories, and we are now onto our 3rd generation of the same families returning. So in short, to summarize the summary, we tried to renew the permit on time. We were told we could not, but had to wait for taxes to be paid. When the taxes were paid, 2 business days before the expiration date, we were not informed. And when we tried 2 business days after that, we were told it was too late. So I feel like our well-documented attempts to renew our permit on time makes our case unlike other cases, and I appeal to the commission. Please allow our permit to be renewed.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mr. Miller at this point? Okay, Moving, it's time for any testimony. I have one proponent. I'm gonna say Ellen Gatsby. Okay, if you would like to stand and give your name and your address for a recording, please, Ellen.
I'm Ellen Gatsby, and my mailing address is 2666 Southwest Upper Drive Place in Portland. My home is at 873 Wellington. This is listening tonight. It's pretty clear that Mr. Miller wanted to renew, got tangled up in taxes. I have a question. Does Vacasa pays the taxes, right? It comes directly from Vacasa. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the homeowner doesn't really have any control over that.
The taxes are paid by a third party.
Right, okay.
That'd be for the cost.
Okay, okay. And did I hear somebody say there was a grace period for taxes being paid late?
Yeah, we don't usually answer questions during this time.
I'm
It's just for
sorry.
you to give your.
Okay, so
About it, just state it as your opinion.
my opinion is if there is a grace period for one part of it, there should be a grace period for the other, but it seems like the intent was there. And I would hope that you would renew this permit.
Thank you. Do I have? All right.
May I ask a question of Mr. Miller?
Just let me finish this little part and we'll go back to that because he's gonna get to speak again if he likes, okay? Okay, are there, I don't have any opponents here, is that correct? Are there any online? Neutral comments, okay. So, Mr. Miller, did you want to say anything else?
I think I've summarized it.
Okay.
Everything is in those packets.
Okay,
All the documentation.
so Eric, you would like to ask him a question?
Mr. Miller, you did receive notices by mail and email that did indicate that your current application expires on July 23rd, 2025.
Yes,
So when you knew that there was a problem, that the taxes had to be taken care of,
right.
why did somebody not make note that July 23rd was the date by which this had to be taken care of?
There was a lot of communication back and forth between Vacasa and the city and us. And for whatever reason, we were led to believe that we were gonna be okay. And, but we had to have these taxes paid. And so there was literally 2 business days that we missed because there was a weekend and we tried again and it was too late. So we had that one little window that we could have done it.
Right, but you knew when the window closed.
Yes, it was sent to us, we knew that date, yes.
All right, I will close the public hearing on this particular issue. Jennifer, I'm gonna really next. Would you like to say something?
I followed the city's presentation of the timeline, and I followed Mr. Miller's presentation of the timeline, and I see conflicts in terms of what happened when and what was done. I believe there was confusion on the part of Mr. Miller's office in terms of when things could happen. There was the record of the from the portal was that there was not an attempt to pay this renewal in June. The first one was July 7th, which was after the window closed. There was no attempt before that. It is very unfortunate that it wasn't the date wasn't made. I think the city did everything in their power and under their responsibility to notify and work with Mr. Miller and his office. I don't think that the city is at fault, and unfortunately, I think that there isn't a way in this ordinance for Mr. Miller to renew his permit.
Thank you, Russ.
Yeah, I have to agree with Jennifer. I mean, I think, you know, the paperwork is, you know, pretty step by step. And the ordinance, I think, was on purpose written to be extremely stringent. And other people have fallen through the cracks. And I feel bad about it, but I don't see any way to, I see us opening the door. If the city did everything they were supposed to do, and we opened the door for Jeff, we open it for others, and that's a tough situation in the way we've written our current, or the ordinance that's being discussed.
Emerson?
I'm of like mind. I think if the ordinance had something that would excuse inadvertence, I mean, I'm kind of looking at this letter by Christina Carpenter, and despite the previous correspondence, she said, we thought we had till the end of July. And not referencing the 23rd. And I just think that that's a clerical error. Mistake probably shouldn't have been made, but if there was language from which we could excuse that, I would, but absent that, I can't.
Thank you. Eric?
Because clearly the ordinance doesn't allow for any kind of grace periods. You know, it seems to me clear from the record, the city did their part, and the homeowner, the property owner was made clear they had a deadline. It's their responsibility to monitor that deadline. And they failed to do that. It's also clear they made an attempt to get the job done, but then they failed in the process. And it seems to be penal that we don't have any way to try to ameliorate this. It would be different if the person made no attempt to try to get the job done. And then they just came back, so, yeah, forgot all about that, can I have a grace? That's different. I do feel that in spite of our, in keeping with our desire to apply the ordinance consistently to all permit holders to ensure fairness in administration, I believe that's true. By the same token, I think we also can judge each case on its own merits and judge cases individually. But I don't know if there's any mechanism within the same, I mean, he was given the mechanism to appeal. So he's given a mechanism to appeal. Do we have a mechanism to ameliorate anywhere? It's clearly not in the ordinance, but does it exist in any other fashion administratively?
Unless we would have made a mistake. I think that if the city would have made a mistake, we would have.
Right. So I don't believe we made a mistake. And without that, does the commission even have the power to just say in this case, we're going to give a grace period? Or do we not have the power to do that if we were not in error ourselves?
No. I mean, it's really, the way that the ordinance is written is pretty clear. And that's what I was discussing with Attorney Jody earlier. Even going through this appeals process is a little bit above and beyond.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to give every opportunity to try to, because we understand the situation. We feel badly for it as well.
Right.
But I just didn't have any wiggle room in that ordinance. And so I'm not sure that there is even a different decision you can make. Unless we, through this process, found that the city made a mistake, and then I would own up to that 100%.
Right. From my reading of the evidence in front of me, I don't think the city did anything incorrect.
Christie is very good at what she does. She's
And
careful.
it's very clear to me that the property owner had a deadline, it was presented to them multiple times. It's their responsibility to keep track of that deadline.
I did take some grace in allowing the permit to remain intact while Christie came back and I could get some more information because there was some questions.
Was it intentional that the ordinance did not offer any kind of grace or, we really want the permits to diminish, and that if something expired, that automatically there'd be no reconsideration?
It was a while ago and it was a pretty wild time.
Yeah.
But I think that the ordinance was written intentionally and it was gone over. I mean, we had over 45 meetings like this about that ordinance. I went over it to, as close as we could. And then it went to a referendum. And whereas some of the vacation rental folks wanted to change the ordinance, make it much more permissible, less permit fees with more vacation rentals available. That went to the public and that was voted down almost by 80%.
Okay. I feel very bad about the result here because clearly they made an effort to do this on time, but I feel the city did not drop the ball on this. So if we have a mechanism, I don't know what else we can turn.
Commissioner Dolan?
I believe the mechanism is this appeal, and if this appeal doesn't go through, is there an appeal to city council?
I don't think so.
Yes.
Joe. Oh, is there? In this situation, is there?
A decision of the planning commission can be appealed to the city council, is my understanding.
Yeah.
There's 3 yeses.
That was my understanding too. I think this brings up a few different questions. Like one, I appreciate Tom's letter regarding short-term rentals and actually the discussion about putting a cap on it and then the lottery system, that kind of stuff. And we've kind of just sidestepped that over the years. But maybe this is an impetus to revisit that in some way. As far, and then even maybe loosening the language in the ordinance that does allow for a small fixed period, especially with a homeowner who's successfully received the permits for 5 or 6, 7 years without any hiccup. So I agree that the city, from all looks, has done the right thing, and I do support the staff. However, there have been times in my life and all of our lives that we sure would have loved to have a little grace from some bodiless entity, and I think maybe this is one of those situations. So as far as I go, I would think that, well, I guess from the sounds of it, recommend appealing it to the city council.
Yes, sir.
Jody, when I could come up with Fisher. I guess because I'm Mr. Fisher.
That works too.
Thank you, senior mom. When Emerson was asking his questions of you, you seemed to infer that maybe there was some avenues. Is there something you can enlighten us with?
I don't want to go too far because I'm dangerously close to providing legal advice to a private citizen. If you want my advice, it would be, this is a conversation that city council needs to have. If they
I'm sorry, Jody, you're cutting out there. You might need to get a little closer to your microphone.
get too close, you'll see too much of me. How about that?
That's good.
If you want my personal opinion, I think that this is probably a conversation that city council would be good for them to hear. But anything beyond that, I think that I don't want to venture any closer to advice territory then
Okay.
Larry's gone.
Okay.
Okay? So this is the way I feel. I first sent a whole pile of questions to Christie. And I hope you all know that you can ask questions of Chad or Angelina or Garrett or any time before we had a meeting. That's why I knew there was a 15-day grace period after July 15th. That's why I knew the time period. I also know that Christie never sends out notifications to homeowners when the taxes have been paid. I also know that what I am reading, 60 days, sent out a letter was sent on the 27th, an email on the 22nd, that's 60 days. They attempt to renew on June 13th, and then 3 weeks went. And I really feel that the phone could have been picked up and called and said, I have a problem with renewing my license. I know that in the past, we have it here, it's been renewed by paper, which means, and it can still be done by paper, it can still be mailed in. It doesn't need to be done through the portal. But it's been renewed successfully 7 times up to this point. I don't know who dropped the ball, shall we say, but I know that if you send out a notification at 60 days and you send out a notification at 30 days, I don't believe that there's any excuse for ignoring it. And yes, I have missed deadlines, Dawn, and I have paid the fees. So, but I think that we all have been in situations where we have deadlines and you make deadlines or something doesn't happen. And I think, unfortunately, this is that kind of case. In talking to other people about this, if the person had been in a horrible auto accident and they were both in the hospital, that reasonably, that's, you know, something that was catastrophic that was not seen. That might be a reason, but there was a phone. I don't see anything here, and I'm sorry, I do not believe the city is trying to get rid of all the vacation rentals, even though we're told that.
Do I have a moment to say one thing?
Sure.
I just want to point out that we were told we would notify the taxes were paid. And we have that confirmation, so we go forward. And we didn't hear from anybody. And so we didn't know that it had happened until we called and found out, and then it was too late. But we were told it would be confirmed. And that we looked at all the emails, everything, trying to find some confirmation that we could go ahead. And there was only that little tiny Monday and Tuesday, and it expired on Wednesday. So we were waiting to hear and to go forward. And then when we finally called and wondered what was going on, it was too late.
I don't know who told you. It is not in Christie's timeline.
Pardon me?
It is not in Christie's timeline.
What is that?
That she was going to notify you.
Well, that's what we were told.
Okay, and I don't know who you were told that from. So that I just know that you have, and this is not an argument, it's not, I just know there were 47 days. So that's my opinion. I've stated my opinion. We now need to finish this up. Garrett has given us 2 choices here, decision options. Motion affirming the permit expiration based on the staff report findings or alternate findings, or motion reversing or modifying the permit expiration based on alternate findings. The motion should identify a time period within which the online application system shall be open for the applicant to complete renewal forms. Do I have a motion? Yes, Jennifer.
I make a motion that we affirm this permit expiration based on the staff report findings.
All right, I have a motion from Jennifer. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Emerson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, Donna said nay. All right, thank you. It's been denied at this point, and I think they told you what, if you want to go forward with another deal, what you can do. Okay, thank you for coming tonight. All right, last thing. Last thing, file 25-09 CPA. Zoning text amendment replacing the entirety of the Gerhart zoning ordinance section 3.10 flood hazard overlay zone with text implementing the Oregon Model Floodplain Management Ordinance, including Endangered Species Act pre-implementation compliance measure, ESA victim. The amendment does not change the boundaries of the flood hazard overlay zone. I will ask once again, do we have a conflict of interest, ex parte contact, or personal bias about this issue? Hearing none. Does the audience feel that it wants to challenge our ability to make an impartial decision? Hearing none. Garrett, it's your time.
All right. I'm going to provide a report that is relatively brief, given the ultimate potential impact of the decision. And I'll explain why. So this proposed amendment is nearly identical to one that you had before you in a hearing earlier in 2025. And it is to implement FEMA's stated requirement that we adopt their model ordinance to protect endangered species in the 100-year floodplain, or that we use habitat assessment guidelines to protect endangered species in the 100-year floodplain. This is a stated requirement that was supposed to be adopted and in effect by, I believe, August 30th, the end of August. FEMA had pushed back that deadline multiple times. And this summer, Planning Commission and then City Council considered whether or not to adopt these amendments. And City Council, Planning Commission recommended to City Council that they not do so until FEMA had provided guidance on how to make the ordinance more compliant or more clearly compliant with clear and objective housing laws in Oregon. And City Council ultimately decided to not adopt these amendments and instead just adopted the Oregon Model Floodplain Ordinance to take care of some basic issues that we had with our flood hazard overlay zone. And then right after adopting and making that decision, council members asked that this be reconsidered. And part of the reason was that we did get some new and different perspective from our new city attorney team that differed from what Peter Watts had previously said. And they indicated that, put a little more emphasis on the idea that the city of Gerhart, if it misses the August 31st deadline, is potentially, in jeopardy of having its participation in the National Flood Insurance Program revoked. And so some city council members asked to bring this back for reconsideration. And so staff are bringing back the FEMA pre-implementation compliance measures model ordinance for you all to consider. And we're doing this knowing two things. One is that before being suspended from the National Flood Insurance Program, FEMA would typically or potentially is required to issue a 90-day notice to a city that it's considering doing so, giving us 90 days to make a correction. And we want, as staff, to be in a position to make that deadline if it were posed to us without a problem. It's also our understanding that ongoing litigation regarding the pre-implementation compliance measures may be resolved in November or December of this year. And we have observed other cities delaying action on this until that resolution occurs. But we want to be in a position to secure and not lose our participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. So we're representing this to you and inviting you to recommend approval or no objection to City Council and have them be in a position to adopt through a first and second reading and have it go in effect within a 90-day period if we get a 90-day notice from FEMA. The ordinance is the same as the ordinance that was presented to you this summer, except that staff have added a little bit of additional language to guide the city, to guide itself essentially, and applicants on how they can obtain mitigation credit and apply it on their own properties at a later date or on another property. Because the FEMA model ordinance says that you can use credit from another site or another time, but it doesn't provide any guidance on how to go about doing that. And once we adopt the PICM measures, we want to make sure that we have a defensible system for Gearhart residents to get the credit that they deserve for actions that they should be eligible for credit for. For example, if someone were to remove a house in the floodplain in, in month 1 after this is adopted, and then they don't want to build a house until month 24, we want them to be able to claim credit at month 1, have it go into the record at City Hall, and be able to use that at month 24. So we've proposed a little bit of a extra guidance on how that could work in the city's ordinance that we're proposing to you. Otherwise, the ordinance is the same as the one that we reviewed this summer, and it is based on the Oregon Model Floodplain Ordinance, but with changes that FEMA made that are intended to protect endangered species by considering 3 landscape characteristics that come into play with development: trees, impervious surfaces, and the volume of the floodplain that fish can or cannot swim in. And so the ordinance does not prohibit development in the floodplain, but it does require mitigation when certain trees are removed, when impervious surfaces are added, or when volume of floodplain is occupied by material that would prevent fish from using it. Those are the 3 main points that are addressed in the ordinance. And you are welcome to have me present a full presentation on how those would work if you want to continue the hearing. But I didn't prepare that for tonight. I'm also happy to answer questions about it tonight for as long as you want to, about how the details of mitigating for trees, impervious surfaces, and developed space would work. But that's the basic idea behind the ordinance. The staff report includes findings addressing comprehensive plan policies and the ordinance's consistency with the comprehensive plan. And it establishes a basis for there being a public need to do this. So the ordinance meets the basic criteria for approving a legislative text amendment to the zoning ordinance. And as with any text amendment, it's a planning commission recommendation followed by a new hearing with city council where new evidence, new testimony can be brought up. And then they make a final decision that can be appealed to LUBA. I'm going to stop there. And I'm here to answer questions about the ordinance.
All right, Jennifer?
Is this an ordinance that would require 2 readings by the city council before it can take effect? Yes, so.
I don't know. That is what we do with all ordinances, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that's based in state law or city code itself. Chad or Jody could potentially answer.
In our code,
Yeah, so statute allows you to adopt an ordinance as an emergency, but in a nutshell, everybody has to vote for it. There has to be no nays, so if it's an emergency, it takes effect immediately, but otherwise you have to go the requisite 90 days, is it, I think? Maybe
Well,
30.
correct.
That is why we're up against a 90 days, because it takes our meeting and then it takes the next 2 city council meetings for it to take effect.
Correct. Unless we declare an emergency, and then as Jody said, it would need to be unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
And to be clear, we haven't gotten a 90-day notice. We want to be ready if we do get one.
Okay.
Any other questions for Garrett? Okay. A proponent, Robert Tate?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, okay, so opponents, neutral? Fine.
Anybody online?
The public hearing is closed. I am going to say we have seen this many, many times. Is there discussion? I won't call on anyone specific. If you want to talk, please so indicate. Don?
So this is essentially the same thing that we were prepared to pass 4 months ago, or 3 months ago, but we chose to only send the certain part of it to the city council. So
Precisely. We knew we had to update things for actually Oregon.
Right.
This is this other part to protect the salmon.
Right, so my recollection is that we were prepared to unanimously do it at that time.
I second.
You know, your Jennifer article that you sent us about FEMA and all that stuff, and just everything we're hearing about the news and like the federal government trying to tell us. You know, the word I would use isn't the word that I'm supposed to use here. So I won't, I'll tell you guys afterwards. But anyway, so that's all I have. I think we should pass it on to the city council.
Okay, yes, Eric.
I just have a question, Chad or Garrett. Some of the public brought up the issue of Zone X. Zone X is not relative to this ordinance, is it?
I don't believe so, but I'd like Garrett to weigh in.
Garrett, Zone
That's
X?
correct. Yeah, that's correct. This Zone X is not part of the flood hazard overlay zone. It's not part of what FEMA calls the special flood hazard area.
Right.
The ordinance simply does not apply there.
Great, okay.
Anything else from anyone? Do I have we basically are, then we can recommend motions we can make. Recommend that city council approve the amendments. Or recommend the city council deny the amendments. Or continue the hearing to November 13th, 2025, leaving the record open. Do I have a motion?
I move we recommend
Okay.
approval.
Emerson has moved to recommend the city council approve the amendments. Do I have a second? Second. Second from Russ. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. All right, so there you have that. We are done with that part of the meeting. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We have no information discussion. Do we have any concerns of the commission? I have one for you. Would you like to not have a meeting in November? Would that be okay with everyone?
Seconded.
Second, we will not have a meeting in November. There is not any business and we are doing the city staff a favor. Can I say that? Okay, do we have any questions from the land use attorney? Joining us the first time?
Yeah, happy to be here. It's nice to meet
Okay, thank you. It's 8:26. Good night.
Good night, thank you.
It certainly was.
Yeah, we didn't go.
On January 7th. Thought that was gonna be.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, no, I-